Timmy Joe reviews anything.
Reviewing computer parts on YouTube.
That's
Woo! Gotta be pumped on that, right, Will? Computer parts! Woo!
Oh yeah.
What's going on, people? My name's Timmy Joe, making videos about computers, beating a dead horse. The 5700 XT Anniversary Edition, getting all the content we can out of this thing, and I want to thank Jason, you who supplied me with this. It's a Bykski, a Bykski Ice Dragon water cooling block, which was on sale slightly before the EK stuff, priced at $139.99 on Amazon. We're gonna check it out. So, comes with an RGB controller, which I'm sure has something to do with this, and these things will control the RGB if you don't have so on your motherboard. I actually don't even have any RGB headers on my EVGA board, so I already opened it up. I'm just doing the whole unboxing thing. So you get a block that looks quite similar to an EK type block of, you know, this type of stature and whatnot. See-through acrylic. There are lights embedded in the bottom of it there, which hook up to this, which has a standard 3-prong header. So if you have that on your motherboard, you don't need this little box, but we might use that. Looks like it comes with a couple of fittings, which is real nice. It comes with a Molex to power, because Molex is so relevant, to power this thing. There's no back plate, I don't think. Nope. And some thermal pads. I don't know. We'll go ahead and install this thing. I've never played with a Bykski before. We're gonna do a lot of fun where we cool the 5700 XT Anniversary Edition, and we'll probably not only just cool it with water, but we'll cool it with chilled water, you know, and see if that affects anything. Because in my experience, this is about as far as she goes. This thing will hover around, you know, if you overclock it just a smidgen, put the power level up by default without anything, around 2025 megahertz to 2050 megahertz in game. So it's already, you know, especially with the washer mod that I showed in the last thing. And I will be revisiting the Arctic Accelero, and we will be doing an Extreme 4, which has this weird backplate that they tell me is going to solve the memory temperature issues and stuff like that. They're sending that to me, and I guess I'll revisit it, because if there's a way to get, you know, to fix your blower, we're going to find it. But this is one way to fix it, but it's not really for everybody. But you know what? I'm just looking forward to overclocking this thing as far as it'll go with, and seeing when temperature's not a problem, how far can the silicon in this thing really go. So let's go ahead and get her all fired on, and then we'll start doing some testing. Woo! Alright, so in case you're curious about these PowerPlay table, the mods you can do, basically you download, I'll leave a link in the description, the More Power tool, and this is something developed specifically for the 5700 to unlock its limits by changing the PowerPlay table. But instead of just, you know, it used to be someone made the PowerPlay table, it's a registry file, you double click it, it would put it in your registry. This is something that does everything automatically for you. It's pretty cool. So you open it up here, you list the card you have up there, and you load SPPT, which is the soft power play table, and you grab it from whichever card you've got. So I've got the Anniversary Edition, okay. And then you can change the overdrive features you want to mess with here. You can even add a 0 RPM apparently to the card, but we're worried about increasing the limits. So we'll go over to overdrive limits, and right now maximum graphics in megahertz, I want to bring that up to like 2400 because I don't want any cap on there. Right now it's set to 2200 max. And we can go over here and change the maximum memory frequency. I don't think we'll ever do this, but 975, sure. Maximum there, you can only do 99, but the minimum there is what it'll load by default. If you wanted to automatically do a 25% power above stock, you could do that, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be changing the settings manually there. And then go into power limits and voltages. I want to change the maximum voltage to 1400. I don't think it'll actually take it that. maximum SoC voltage. I don't even know where you can change that, but we'll change that to 1300. Minimum voltage, this is like you could set this to 1200, so it's always at 1200 millivolts. You probably want it to change dynamically so it's not always hammering the card for power. And then this power limit, 188, I'm going to change that to 250 if it'll allow me to. And that'll just increase like the maximum TDP the card apparently can handle. So if that's how that works, that's awesome. Right, SPPT, okay. There's also some fan settings if you're actually using a fan, but I'm using this water block, so I don't need to worry about that right now. So we'll go ahead and restart the computer, hit exit after it's written, and yeah, once it's written, it'll increase the limits once the computer's restarted, as we'll see. All right, so now we're loading it up, and we open up MSI Afterburner here, and we can see here, I already have some settings dialed in, but this is by stock on the Anniversary Edition 2050, and this would be at 1200. And yeah, they would look like that stock, but I have these new limits, and the furthest you could push this before was 2200, but you'd never reach that limit because you need more power, you need more volts to do that, you need a better cooling solution. And the power percentage you see goes all the way up to 99 now, and yeah, it looks like the maximum voltage you can do is 1300, even though I put 1400 in as a limit. This is basically the furthest you can take this card, unfortunately. I'm having all kinds of fun with this. I have it set up with a 360 mil rad there, and my crazy Enermax pump, the thing goes at like 4200 RPM, so it really pushes the fluid through the system, and that block seems to be working out real well. My operating temperatures are something like 50 to 60 degrees, even with an extreme overclock, and doing this actually really will allow you to push things pretty far. I'm at a 40-degree operating temperature, and I'm almost at 2.2 gigahertz. Almost, see? It almost hit it there. 2192. So you can really push this GPU pretty damn far with just regular liquid cooling. But I'm not going to stop at this. No, we're going to chill the water as well. 42 degrees with this big 360 mil rad, and 44 in the memory. That's really, really awesome. This is my first run of the day. I was running this all last night and did some really awesome scores. I broke 10,000 in the graphics score in Time Spy, which is a pretty big deal. And yeah, we're touching 2.2. So here, I'll show you once we're done how good the Time Spy run really was. This might be my best run yet because I've got the memory overclocked a little bit further, 10 more megahertz, and I just ran it completed with the frequency setting at 2.25 gigahertz. Oh my goodness, yes, that is the best one I've run yet, for sure. Look at that, 10,080. I think I've done better than that. I don't know. Anyways, so if we click compare results online, let's see if this one was my best one, 114. 160, so we're going up, and we broke 2.2 gigahertz. So we did that without the chilled water. So there is headroom in these. That means that if you get some sort of like an expensive overclock edition where AMD lets them make, put a giant cooler on this thing, like a Strix OC edition or something like that with a better VRM in a well-binned chip, you should be able to get like some serious overclocks going on in these. But I think the problem is you're not actually relating that to much more FPS in games, so it's not that much worth it. So yeah, just completed. If we open up we'll open up Wattman, and we'll show you what my settings are. So yeah, if you see here in Wattman, I can bring this curve up to 1325 apparently, so that's awesome. MSI Afterburner has a limit on that to 1300, and I'm at 2251 megahertz, and I just completed a run. And so obviously adding more voltage does stabilize things. And then if we check down here, we're at 915. So yeah, I think it's about time we put some cold water on this mother effer and see how far she really goes. Woo! Let's see what this bucket filled with ice water can do. 9 degrees Celsius on the GPU here. And then I brought one extra little thing here. Check this out. Oh, there we go. Just for a little bit of it factor, you know, just a little salty poo. Get that water really below zero here. All right. Look at this. Look at it. Over 2 gigahertz. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Well, I mean, I am chilling it with cooled water, so that might be a problem for some people. But yeah, we're running Time Spy here, just blowing it out at like 2.245 gigahertz, something like that, average speed at 30 degrees Celsius on the memory and the GPU. Junction temperature, I think, is under control as well, because why the hell wouldn't it be? It's got chilled water being blasted at it. But here we are in the second section of Time Spy, and yeah, easily running 2.2 gigahertz. So all it takes is if you have a water chiller or you want to get out a new bucket of ice every couple of hours, your Radeon could run super fast with a slider at 2300 at 1391 millivolts, something like that, close to 1400 to maintain this frequency. But it keeps scaling with the temperature. You add more frequency and some more voltage and it keeps going up. So I don't really think I'm going to be able to take it too much further. I don't think it'll let me take it past 1400. Maybe the power play table, maybe it will? I don't know, but we're getting close to the limits here, and we never see the temperature on here go past like 35 degrees on anything, so that's pretty awesome. But over 2 gigahertz easily with some chilled water. That's amazing. And it's just flying through this. No artifacting, no nothing. That's awesome, dude. All right, and of course we have to see if we can game with these settings. 26 and 28 over 2.2 gigahertz. We're going to see if my normal run in Shadow of the Tomb Raider will get the same FPS as a 2080 Radeon 7, or maybe there's no reason at all to do this. So I'm going to do my normal benchmark run in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and we'll see what my averages end up being, as long as it actually stays on this whole time. But we're running at a pretty consistent 26 degrees. All right, so I'm done the benchmark run, and we end up with a 59, 53, 50 when my original was 56, 50, 47. So, woohoo! Ice jumped me up, what, 3 FPS there. 3 FPS. That was really worth it for the 3 FPS, running an ice water bath for your graphics card. So I guess the 200 megahertz you can achieve overclocking this in this fashion will net you a little bit of a gain, but it's not going to do that much better for you. Like, is it worth it for 3 FPS? I guess AMD knows what they're doing when they top their card out at a certain amount. I don't know, let's play Far Cry 5 just to, you know, we got to do some gaming here. So I'll load up Far Cry 5 while the ice is still in the bucket. Woo! So we're at 66 frames a second here, and mine was averaging 59 on 4K Ultra previously with the card at stock. So we're doing pretty good. We're about 6 FPS better right now. Our 1% low is looking way better too. So running the card at higher frequency actually does equate to some sort of performance gains, but it's minimal to go through this much trouble. But we're still at 35 degrees on the, and we're running at 2.222 gigahertz here. And I mean, this works, man. We're at 65. We're gained 6 FPS right now. All right, I can't believe how well that worked out. That was a lot of fun, man. So ice watering on waterblock with 5700 XT Anniversary Edition, or even just a 5700 XT, I'm sure, just shows the potential of this card. It's not frequency limited quite as much as I thought it was going to be. And although it doesn't net you that much extra performance, we're getting this thing at a solid 2.26 gigahertz with some chilled water. That is incredible. Not that it, you know, it only gets you like maybe 10% FPS boost, if that. But it's, you know, it's still pretty good. It's pretty awesome. And I did some crazy Time Spy scores and some pretty crazy Firestrike scores. So let's go over that right now. But first, right in the middle of filming, this showed up, which is awesome. It's an MSI 2070 Super that I get to borrow from them and probably not put under water loop or anything like that because I have to give it back. But, you know, I get to do a direct comparison now in a future video, which will come up maybe next week. 5700 XT versus the 2070 Super. And actually should have a 5700 XT MSI version coming as well, so we can do an AIB versus AIB comparison in a bunch of games, and that should be fun to check out. So look forward. This is a much more expensive card, and this thing's actually really nipping on its heels, man. Check this out. So I'll fire up here. This is a comparison between the stock performance on this in Firestrike. Okay, in Firestrike, check this out, versus my Super Overclock performance, okay? With the Super Overclock, I was killing this thing. I was destroying it. The best time Firestrike score I got was 23,090 with my 7820X, which is a wannabe 9900K. Could probably get a little bit better, you know, scores if I had a better CPU, but I don't. But the best Firestrike score, I wound up with a graphics score of 30,022 with this thing overclocked. 30,022, that's 1080 Ti performance. And this, the RTXs don't do well with Firestrike. It's a DirectX 11. I don't know what's going on, but its best score was 21,363 with a graphics score of 25,721. Like, that's 4,300 less in Firestrike. Now, it's not actually as good as you'd think it would be with those numbers, because if we switch over to Time Spy, I'll fire a comparison up here. The best Time Spy score I could get with the overclocked Radeon was 10,298 with a graphics score of 10,235, and the 2070 is able to do 10,451 at stock. Like, this is an overclock card, but with me not touching a thing in the overclocking settings, and a graphics score of 10,388. So we're still about 100 off in the graphics score in Time Spy, but it murders it in Firestrike, which is awesome. So look forward to a direct comparison of these two cards coming up. We can see, you know, what kind of money you can save by going with the AMD route, especially now that the board partner versions are out, which should be super, super fun. And then I got a couple more things to say. So, you know, we saw in gaming with this thing, you know, you get a couple FPS, it's not really that worth it, whatever. So, you know, we'll settle this up. Is it worth it to overclock with the water block? 100%, because it gives you a nice linear frequency curve. With the blower model especially, it's like this all the time. So if you want to set up a water-cooled PC, you can actually really stabilize your 1% lows and stuff like that and get some more stable performance. But as far as overclocking headroom, like 7% maximum with the water block, playing with the power play tables and stuff, is that worth it to buy a $150 water block? Probably not. Not unless you're planning on doing a water-cooled setup anyways. So that ends that. But look at this. This also showed up in the mail right in the middle of shooting this. 100,000, guys. 100,000 plaque. I got my cookie, my hero cookie from YouTube. So thanks to each and every freaking one of you, man. Y'all are the reason I do this, and this little hero cookie here, that's fun to put on me wall. That's super fun. Like, I can't think, you know, this whole video is made possible from viewer support. Like, I got the anniversary edition and, you know, selling the Radeon 7, which was a bad idea, sort of, in my part. But Jason was completely on board with it, the guy who bought me the Radeon 7, and he sent me a water block to mess around with it. So community support helps all these videos happen. I love it. Keep in mind, I do have a Patreon, and I keep pimping it, but I'm trying to get that up there. I want to keep ads off the channel, and more money through Patreon, the more stuff I can buy, and the, you know, least amount of the less ads I put into the mix here, and you know, to keep this ball rolling. $1, $2, $5 on Patreon really goes a long way if a whole bunch of you do it. And I'd like to move out of my house very soon and get into another office and do it like for real and, you know, stable this time. No leaky roofs, not, you know, buying some shanty shack down Main Street. And in order to do so, I'm going to need the fundage to do it. And any support you could offer on Patreon would really help get this place to another level. And I mean, this isn't going to stop. I'm looking to get the gold version of this thing. So thanks to every one of you. And then last thing is, I have a whole bunch of dual GPUs, especially AMD ones. So I think September is going to be dual GPU month. And it's going to be like every week I've got some crazy dual GPU stuff just to play around with, mess around with. Maybe some quad fire, some 50. I know I 7970 or 7990 in quad fire. And I've got the Quadro version or the Fire Pro version of that too, like a whole bunch of stuff upcoming. So that stuff, anyone has maybe a Titan Z, they'd let me borrow. I would love to review one of those on the channel. Maybe not make it just an all AMD month of dual GPUs, but I'm running out of NVIDIA cards. I've done most of them. I think the Titan Z is like the last one, so that would be pretty cool. But I'm not watching me do Instagram and Twitter. And in conclusion, water chilling your card, your 5700 XT, will net you some fun positives, and it's certainly fun to play around with, but in the end, it's not like some amazing super button that's just gonna make you have, you know, incredible speed on your FPSs and everything. But it certainly is worth doing if you're already planning a loop and you wanna grab a card that you're really gonna benefit from the water cooling. This is one of them for sure. And then upcoming on the channel very soon, 5700 XT versus 2070 Super, so that's going to be really, really fun. So thanks to all of you, and destroying the Time Spy scores. I'm going to go edit this video, and then I'm going to play around with this, because this looks like a lot of fun. I haven't played with a good NVIDIA card in a while. I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you very much for watching. I mean, you got me to 100,000. You got me my plaque. Thanks guys. Awesome.